Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Rebecca Rand.
In our top story, Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas has renounced all agreements with Israel. The PA boss said he was terminating all security cooperation with the Jewish state, and Israel will now be responsible for the Arab civilian population in those areas. The move is an attempt to pressure Jerusalem not to extend sovereignty throughout Judea and Samaria. This is not the first time Abbas has threatened to abort the peace deal with Israel. In addition, leaders of the Palestinian Authority have violated the agreement numerous times since signing the Oslo Accords in 1993. PA officials continue to support and incite terrorism, as well as indoctrinate Arab children through the educational system. Israel is confident that extending sovereignty to the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria will provide regional stability and ensure the security and future success of the Jewish heartland.
The Eid al-Fitr holiday, signifying the end of Ramadan, was marked in Israel by several attempted terror attacks. One Arab terrorist was killed as he tried to stab a police officer in Jerusalem, and two terrorists attacked a group of IDF soldiers stationed near Shiloh. The soldiers opened fire, wounding both of the assailants. The men fled to Ramallah, where they were given medical care and praised online as heroes.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has called for a holy war against Israel and challenged all Muslims to rise up and wipe out the Zionist enemy. In an anti-Semitic tirade on Quds Day, the Iranian holiday which calls for the destruction of Israel, Khamenei describes Zionism as a virus that must be eliminated immediately. He said the creation of the State of Israel is one of the greatest crimes against humanity. The radical cleric insisted that Muslims have a duty to fight Israel. He promised to support any nation or group who joins the holy war. This comes just one day after the Iranian leader displayed a poster which calls for a final solution to end the Jewish state. Both U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Khamenei of supporting the Nazi genocide against the Jews. The European Union has unanimously condemned Tehran's totally unacceptable threats against Israel.
A major archaeological find near the Western Wall has made headlines around the world. Israeli archaeologists announced the discovery of a 2,000-year-old underground hideout in the Old City. The three-room structure was hand-chiseled out of bedrock prior to the destruction of the Second Temple and the fall of Jerusalem in 70 CE. It serves as evidence of Jewish determination to remain in the Holy City despite the threats posed by the Romans. The subterranean structure includes 3 spacious rooms, including a basement and a pantry. The underground chambers are equipped with shelving and niches for oil lamps. Archaeologists also discovered clay cooking vessels, fragments of a water basin, and a stone mug unique to second-period Jewish sites.
The Islamic Waqf has ordered the reopening of the Temple Mount after its unprecedented closure due to the coronavirus. The Waqf, which controls all activities on Mount Moriah, heavily restricts Jews and Christians from visiting the holy site and forbids non-Muslims from praying there. A movement has been initiated to make the Temple Mount more accessible to Jews and Christians who are demanding equal rights and the freedom of worship on Mount Moriah. But for now, it seems that the status quo will remain in place.
Professors at King's College in London have discovered Hebrew and Aramaic writing on what they assumed were relatively worthless fragments of Dead Sea Scrolls. The parchments were housed at the University of Manchester, where they were thought to be useful only for leather and scientific studies. While examining the seemingly useless artifacts, Professor Joan Tyler of King's College was shocked to discover biblical writing, likely from the Book of Ezekiel. This realization inspired researchers to further inspect the other fragments in the collection, yielding the discovery of ancient writing on 4 of the scrolls that were previously thought to be blank.
Belgium announced that it is planning to cease protecting the Jews of Antwerp. Jews have a long history in the city, which is home to a large and thriving ultra-Orthodox community. Anti-Semitism in the country has reached dangerous heights, and the Jews of Belgium fear for their safety if Flemish soldiers are not stationed to protect their synagogues, Jewish community centers, and kosher markets. Belgium makes headlines every year for allowing the anti-Semitic parade during the Alst Carnival. Local residents dress up as Jewish insects, hook-nosed moneylenders, and horribly offensive Jewish characters as they parade through the streets, drinking and shouting anti-Semitic slurs.
The Israeli economy is suffering its steepest decline in 20 years. The Central Bureau of Statistics has released its report on the first quarter of 2020, showing a sharp decline for the startup nation. It's important to note that this contraction does not represent the peak of the coronavirus crisis and subsequent lockdown in April. The first quarter of 2020 shows a 7.1% overall plunge. All areas of consumption decreased except for household goods and food, which rose 5.8%. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly stressed that the Israeli economy is resilient and will recover. What the Jewish state cannot afford is the further loss of our greatest national asset, the people of Israel.
Arab banks have become the latest victims of Palestinian terrorism after they refused to take part in the pay-to-slay terror payments. This comes after Palestinian Media Watch, an Arabic-language media watchdog organization, warned the Arab banks that they could face lawsuits for their role in the monetary support program for terrorists. Several of the financial institutions involved reported harassment, threats, and vandalism after closing accounts linked to terrorism and refusing to transfer the pay-to-slay stipends. They claimed that the windows were shot out and Molotov cocktails had been thrown inside the banks.
The Israeli Ministry of Defense has ordered the Spike FIREFLY miniature tactical loitering weapon for IDF ground troops. This agile munition was jointly developed by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems and the Israeli Ministry of Defense. Weighing only 3 kilograms, this lightweight device, created for urban combat, can easily be carried and deployed by soldiers, providing them with precision attack capabilities from behind cover. FIREFLY is operated by a handheld tablet and is equipped with infrared night vision, target tracking, and a host of other advanced specifications. Dr. Ren Ghazali, the head of the Land and Naval Division at Rafael, said that the use of FIREFLY will give IDF soldiers a tactical edge in close combat.
A study by Oxford University shows that 1/5 of Britons believe that Jews created COVID-19 to collapse the economy for financial gain. There's been a steep rise in anti-Semitism throughout the globe since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, and the internet is full of conspiracy theories resurrecting the age-old blood libel that Jews are to blame for the virus, just as they were blamed for the Black Plague in the Middle Ages. Israel's new Minister of Education has proposed bringing students to Jerusalem 3 times a year. Israeli students in the 5th, 7th, and 8th grades already visit the capital, but Yoav Galant wants to increase students' education and exposure to the Holy City. He said the story of Jerusalem expresses the power of the Jewish people, who, after 2,000 years, were able to return to the land of Israel, establish a national home, build an army, and restore the eternal capital. He said every child must know and experience Jerusalem's meaning, uniqueness, and importance.
Distinguished members of the Israel Allies Foundation in parliaments throughout Latin America celebrated Jerusalem Day by sending a congratulatory letter to Israel's President Reuven Rivlin. It said, "On Jerusalem Day, we celebrate the determination of the Jewish people to live in the eternal capital of Israel. We also mark the shared Judeo-Christian values that have sealed the historic relations between Latin America and Israel since November of 1947. The letter was signed by a minister from Uruguay, a senator from Colombia, and legislators from Guatemala, Suriname, and Argentina. Josh Reinstein, the president of the Israel Allies Foundation, praised the work of the caucuses in Latin America, saying during these times of closed borders and social distancing, it is especially heartwarming to hear from the leadership of our caucuses around the world regarding their love and support for our united capital, Jerusalem. Notwithstanding the physical distance between us, we will still work as one to strengthen support for Israel through faith-based diplomacy so that next Jerusalem Day, many of their capitals will be in Jerusalem."
The company responsible for the Israeli technology that pulls clean, fresh drinking water out of thin air has installed a generator at the pediatric cancer hospital in Gaza. WaterGen works by cooling and purifying air at its dew point and can produce up to 800 liters of drinking water a day. This is the second WaterGen system provided to the residents of Gaza by the Israeli company. The Hamas terror group, which rules the densely populated Gaza Strip, hijacks international aid meant for infrastructure and public health and uses it to fund its terror campaign against Israel. As a result, the public is left without proper medical care or even clean drinking water. Jerusalem continues to provide aid and supplies, hoping to improve the living conditions for civilians, despite being mercilessly attacked by terrorists in the Hamas-run enclave.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Please stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is David Avery. He's a councilman for the Shomron Council. David, thank you for being on the show.
Well, hello, Josh, and thank you for inviting me.
So, a lot of people are talking about Samaria these days, or the Shomron. Tell us what's happening in Samaria. What's new?
Well, Samaria is the northern part of what many call the West Bank, and we don't like using that term because it infers that this land belongs to someone else, and it doesn't. This is the heartland of Israel. And in the Shomron, which I am a member of the municipal government, we are working day and night to resettle the Jewish people in the heartland of Israel and to set down our roots in order to be here forever.
So a lot of people are talking about sovereignty. What will that mean for the Shomron?
Well, in 1967, Israel liberated these areas, Judea and Samaria, and most of Jerusalem, from Jordan. And Israel has controlled this area through the military for the past 53 years. But Israel has never applied its sovereignty to these areas to be just like every other place in Israel. So we're in an awkward situation. The Israelis live in the Shomron, we build in the Shomron. We see our future in this place, and we see this as part of the land of Israel and part of the state of Israel. Applying Israeli sovereignty is actually the government of Israel saying, yes, this land is part of the state of Israel.
You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about annexation, and it's not annexation. Can you explain to our viewers what's the difference?
That's right. I hear the term annexation used regarding this situation, and I'm uncomfortable with that term because the term itself, annexation, implies that one country is taking over land from another country. And that doesn't describe our situation here in Israel and in Judea and Samaria, where Israel took this land in 1967 from Jordan, but Jordan had no right to hold on to this land to begin with. It wasn't really part of the state of Jordan. Israel has historical, biblical, and legal rights to this land. So as Israel has been controlling this land de facto for the past 53 years, it is time for Israel to officially apply sovereignty to this land.
Yes, you know, I've seen a lot of people saying that the settlements or Judea and Samaria communities are the obstacle to peace. But if you go down to Samaria or the Barkan region where they have, factories, it actually looks like a model for peace. You see Arabs working, you see Jews working. Why the misconception?
The misconception is fueled by organizations who have an agenda to divide the land of Israel, to give over the heartland of Israel to Arab entities, the so-called two-state solution. So they will color anything regarding Israel's presence in this area in dark colors and say Israel's settlements is a bad thing and so forth. They will never highlight the advantages that Israel's existence in this area provide for the general population, Jews and non-Jews, Jews and Arabs who live in this area, or so-called Palestinians who are enjoying the existence of Israel being in Judea and Samaria.
You know, we talked about the deal of the century and sovereignty coming up here in Israel. A lot of people are worried, though, that it's just another two-state solution, as you mentioned, that this would lead to a Palestinian terror state in the land of Israel. Are you concerned about that, or do you see this as a different type of plan?
Concerned is a very good way to define this proposal regarding establishing a Palestinian state. Even in parts of Judea and Samaria, is a great concern. The Palestinian Authority, which is a branch of the PLO, which is a terrorist organization, who have never ceased supporting terrorism. To this day, the Palestinian Authority pay very handsome wages and prizes to terrorists who have killed Jews and tourists in Israel. The Palestinian Authority has proven itself to be a supporter of terrorism. To give land in the heart of Israel to establish a country for this terror organization would be a huge mistake.
Donald Trump is by far the most pro-Israel president we've ever seen. I mean, he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, recognized the Golan Heights. We're talking about sovereignty right now. Why do you think someone who understands the threat would put out a plan that ends with a two-state solution? Where's the disconnect?
There are many who say that this proposal is calling the bluff of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, who don't really want a state. They don't really want to recognize Israel. They don't really want to live in peace with the Israelis. So here, President Trump is offering them, this is the best deal you're going to get, take the deal. And many say that they're not going to take it, so we can rely on the Palestinians to refuse. I really am not in favor of putting our faith in the PLO. I think that is a mistake. And we ourselves should reject the idea of any form of a two-state solution.
We're in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. Millions of people around the world have gotten it, but Israel's fared pretty well. How do you see the population of Shomron during this time? Do you think it's going to grow and flourish? Do you think people are going to be nervous about moving to Samaria? How will this affect Samaria in general?
Samaria, or the Shomron, is on the grow. We are the quickest growing Jewish population in all of Israel. At this time, with the corona crisis throughout the world, and within the Jewish community in many locations of the world, I think that many Jewish people are now considering making aliyah, moving to Israel. So, as it was before the corona, where we had an internal migration of many Israelis who were moving into the Shomron, and our own natural growth within our communities, I think we're going to see an addition of Jews coming from around the world, from the diaspora, moving to Israel, and many of them choosing to live in the Shomron.
At the same time, we hear everyone talking about sovereignty, and we see a very supportive U.S. administration. The EU has gotten aggressively anti-Israel with their labeling laws, especially in the Samaria. They want to label goods from those same factories where Jews and Muslims work together. You think this is going to come to a head?
I think that the Europeans, or any organization who wish to assist, who care for peace in this region, should be supporting the industry in Judea and Samaria. I think that the industry in Judea and Samaria is a model of coexistence of Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians, who come and work together for a common goal of providing welfare for their families. And I think that the right thing to do would be to support these industries, to support this model of peace. So far, the European governments are choosing to go against this, and they're really sabotaging the only good thing of the only good example of cooperation between Jews and Arabs in this area.
David, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Well, come and visit the Shomron. Show your support with feet on the ground. See the reality here. See the things that you're not seeing in the news. And then go back and let your representatives in government know that they should be supporting Israel's stake in the heartland.
Thank you, David, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Keren Hayesod.
Shalom, and welcome to the Return to Zion with Keren Hayesod. I'm Sam Grundwerg, World Chairman of Keren Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Keren Hayesod is responsible for bringing home tens of thousands of new Olim every year. Every story is unique. Enjoy as we hear one of those incredible success stories.
When the parents of 8-year-old Robert Uman decided in 1938 that their family must leave Germany for a new beginning in New York, little did they know that it would save their lives. Remarkably, the decision also laid the foundations for their son to flourish in the first Jewish state in 2 millennia, built with a determination of institutions such as Keren Hayesod. Here, Robert Uman would become an Israeli hero who would change the world of mathematics. By 1938, the dark clouds had gathered over Germany. Jews had been ousted from every facet of public life. They had become persecuted outcasts. Outright violence against Jews was common. The Uman family fled for the United States just 2 weeks before the infamous Kristallnacht pogrom. They were spared the full horrors of Nazism, which would soon unfold. In their new home, Robert Uman's parents struggled to make a living, but Uman grew up a proud Jew, a scholar of the Hebrew Bible. At the same time, Robert soon emerged as a gifted mathematician. In 1955, he received a prestigious PhD in mathematics from MIT. By this time, thousands of miles away, the impossible dream had become a reality. The State of Israel was born. From the ashes of the Holocaust, an ancient nation returned to its biblical home. With the help of Keren Hayesod and its supporters, the Jewish people built its first independent state in 2,000 years. Robert Uman simply could not resist the pull of history.
Israel is a place where Jews have looked to this for centuries, and this is our fulfillment. So the news that we are gradually getting to be stronger and stronger in Israel vis-a-vis the diaspora, number-wise, that's good news. That's wonderful news.
Uman made his new home in the land of his forefathers, the land of Israel. As Jeremiah had predicted, your children shall return to their borders. Uman's outstanding intellectual ability did not go unnoticed, and he immediately joined the mathematics faculty at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He has been there ever since. Over the decades, Uman's reputation blossomed into one of the world's outstanding mathematicians. Prestigious prizes and professorships followed. But in 2005, Robert Uman received the ultimate award, the Nobel Prize. Almost overnight, Uman became a household name. His success demonstrated Israel's important contribution to the world. It showcased the Hebrew University, a world-class institution built with the help of Keren Hayesod. The small boy who fled Germany had shown that the Jewish people had triumphed. Uman was an Israeli hero. But despite the accolades, Uman remains first and foremost a proud Jew, even when the Nobel Prize is on offer. With the Nobel Awards ceremony scheduled just minutes after the Jewish Sabbath ended, Uman insisted on first completing his prayers before hurrying to take a seat just 90 seconds before the King of Sweden's arrival. Uman's remarkable life story is a powerful symbol of a proud nation reborn, a people that has never lost faith. And it is a reminder of Zechariah's prophecy, "Not by might and not by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord." Now is your opportunity to continue this holy legacy by assisting additional Jews to make a new life in the land of their forefathers.
Let's bless Israel together.
Now's the time for you to get involved. Assist Keren Hayesod to raise the necessary funds in order to bring Jews yearning for their homeland back to Israel. Your donation can help fulfill the biblical prophecy today. To donate and get information, visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
dear friends, the centennial anniversary of the Sanremo Conference is a chance to celebrate a seminal moment in the history of Zionism. At Sanremo, the victorious Allied powers of World War I recognized the Jewish people's right of self-determination. Those powers ratified and pledged to implement the Balfour Declaration. 3 years earlier, British Foreign Minister Lord Arthur Balfour, speaking on behalf of his government, had called for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Now, in ratifying that historic declaration, Sanremo recognized a fundamental truth. The Jewish people are not foreign colonialists in the land of our forefathers. The land of Israel is our ancestral homeland. My friends, for decades I've been fighting those who have sought to deny the millennial connection of the Jewish people to our homeland. I'm proud to say that the decades-long struggle has borne fruit. 3 months ago, the Trump peace plan recognized Israel's rights in all of Judea and Samaria. And President Trump pledged to recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Jewish communities there and in the Jordan Valley. A couple of months from now, I'm confident that that pledge will be honored, that we will be able to celebrate another historic moment in the history of Zionism. A century after Sanremo, the promise of Zionism is being realized. It's being realized because we never stopped fighting for our rights, and your efforts are part of that fight. Thank you for celebrating this historic occasion. Thank you for fighting for the rights of the Jewish people.
The biblical prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. The people of Israel are returning to the Promised Land after 2,000 years of exile. But millions of Jews are still longing to come home. Bless Israel by supporting Keren Hayesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Together, we can fulfill the prophecy of the Bible.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, visit khisrael.org.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Rebecca Rand reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us next week for all your Israel updates.